Now, it's been called one of the darkest days in Vancouver's history. 11 people were killed, dozens of others injured after a driver allegedly rammed into a crowd on Saturday. And today is the official day of mourning to honor those who died and to stand with the wider community that will forever be impacted by this horrific attack.
It truly hurts to see my community have to suffer, not just me, but everyone else that was affected, because obviously it was supposed to be a festival where we celebrate our culture and everyone else just have to enjoy their day. And I'm just trying my best to get through it.
I thought I'd sign the board and just let Vancouver, Filipinos, and the world that they know we're thinking of them.
Now, events are taking place across BC today. Books of condolences are open at Vancouver City Hall and the BC Legislature in Victoria for people to come and express their sympathies and give messages of support. A candlelight prayer vigil will be held at St. Mary's Parish this afternoon, and a memorial mass will take place at the Holy Rosary Cathedral this evening. And we wanted to honor those who lost their lives in the attack. 8 of the 11 victims have been identified, and here's what we know about them. Vancouver mother and artist Jennifer Darbelay was one of the people killed. Her husband described her as larger than life. A family from Colombia also died from the attack. Glitza Daniela Samper, Glitza Maria Caicedo, and Daniel Samper were among those killed, and their surviving son says his parents sacrificed everything to give them a better future in Canada. Another family also lost their lives. Richard Lee, his wife Lynn Wong, and their 5-year-old daughter Katie were among the victims. They leave behind their 16-year-old son. And lastly, Kira Salim was a teacher counselor who's described to have had a powerful impact on their students. Now, the suspect in this tragedy is set to appear in court this afternoon. 30-year-old Kaiji Adam Lowe was initially set to appear later this month, but his lawyer requested the appearance be moved ahead. Lowe faces 8 counts of second-degree murder in connection with the alleged attack. Now, this incident has some concern about safety during upcoming festivals. Now, the BMO Vancouver Marathon is taking place this weekend, and about 25,000 runners and spectators are set to attend. Vancouver police say there will be 200 officers assigned to the race.
This strategic deployment is an increase from last year, but it's not as a result of the tragic incident of what happened Saturday. It's also not the result of a specific threat to this event. It's part of our ongoing process of doing risk assessments continuously up until the event. And for this, we want to ensure public safety, and we want to mitigate any risks that we can for this event.
Now, police will be setting up barriers using both heavy and light vehicles and helping with traffic management. Now, switching gears to Chilliwack, RCMP are searching for a 7-year-old girl who apparently followed her neighbor's dog into a wooded area yesterday afternoon and has not been found since. RCMP say Lily Corsel was last seen in the area of Winona Road and Branch Road at 4 p.m. And at the time, she was wearing all pink clothing. An air and ground search continues. And that's it for me. I am Jessica Chung. You are watching CBC News BC. Stay tuned for more because BC Today is up next.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. BC is marking a day of mourning in the aftermath of last weekend's tragedy at a Filipino festival in Vancouver. 11 people were killed and dozens more injured. Now, on TV and online, you can see a public memorial in Victoria where members of the public can sign a book of condolences. Meanwhile, in Vancouver, people can share their thoughts at Vancouver City Hall and that memorial that continues to grow around Fraser and 41st Avenue. We're going to take you to our reporters who are there at those sites. We're going to hear from the Vancouver School District as well on what supports are available, and you can call in and share your thoughts. And after 12:30, it is time to welcome back our gardening columnist, Brian Mincher, and he'll take your gardening questions. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. We wanted to honor those who lost their lives in the attack on the weekend. 8 of the 11 victims have been identified, and here's what we know about them. Vancouver mother and artist Jennifer Darbalay was one of the people killed. Her husband described her as larger than life. A family from Colombia also died. Glitza Daniela Samper, Glitza Maria Casado, and Daniel Semper were among those killed. Their surviving sons say his parents sacrificed everything to give them a better future in Canada. Another family lost their lives. Richard Lee, his wife Lynn Wong, and their 5-year-old daughter Katie were among the victims. They leave behind their 16-year-old son. And lastly, Kira Salim was a teacher counselor who's described to have had a powerful impact on their students. If you'd like to share your thoughts on this Provincial Day of Mourning, you can call us now, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, or you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. CBC reporter Chad Pawson joins us now from around Fraser and 41st Avenue in Vancouver, and Pinki Wong is at Vancouver City Hall. Hello to you both.
Hi.
Hello, Michelle.
Chad, I know you're at Fraser and 41st, around about there. I was at the site this morning. You have been there all morning. Can you tell us exactly where you are right now and what the scene is like around you?
So we moved down to Fraser and 43rd. This is the site of where there's another mother memorial set up in this area. Of course, yes, we were at 41st and Fraser, where there's a much bigger memorial with flowers, plaques, very emotional messages being written. This is too much to hold. We must hold it together. Together we heal. A steady stream of people from all manner of demographics across Vancouver showing up at that site this morning to lay flowers, to bow their heads and pray, just reflecting. And we talked to many people, just such a somber mood, just trying to reflect on this tragedy and just trying to absorb it. People still having trouble making sense of it, very emotional. Now we've moved down to Fraser and 43rd. I'm going to show you over my shoulder here. You can see that there's a board where people are crowded around. That board was hung there this morning. It was mostly empty, and now it's been filled with messages of condolences, of standing together, of trying to heal together. And we're seeing a lot of that here all morning as people just show up to be together and to reflect on this tragedy, Michelle.
Yes, I was there as well this morning. I kind of turned the corner there and I saw that board. It was near empty, and to see that it is near full now, I mean, it's remarkable to see people still wanting to share their thoughts and to share their condolences. And that's what they're doing at Vancouver City Hall as well, where there is a book of condolences to sign. Pinki, can you tell us what's happening there?
Yeah, Michelle, so I'm in front of the main lobby at Vancouver City Hall. The Book of Condolences is set inside on a table in front of the Canada flag, the Philippines flag, and the City of Vancouver flag. And there are electric candlelights on the table, and there's a note asking people to leave messages of sympathy and of support, saying that all the messages collected, either in person or online, will be bound into one single book to honor those who were affected.
Both of you, I'll ask you, have you had a chance to talk to people personally, and what are they telling you about why it is important for them to be there? Pinki?
Yeah, so I've talked to some residents who've dropped by and left some messages. One of them told me that, a lot of them told me that they're still feeling very sad. They're still grieving about what had happened. One of them said she really appreciates the setup here at Vancouver City Hall. She said she needed a space that is quiet, that it's out of all the other memorials, and that she could sit there, reflect on what had happened before leaving her message. Another resident I talked to said, her friend went to the Lapu-Lapu festival, but she left before the incident. So there's a lot of people who are directly and indirectly impacted by the tragedy. So it's still a lot to take on for them.
And Chad, where you are now on 43rd, that is where the food trucks were. That is where the incident did take place. And so it makes sense and understandable that people have been gathering there as well as at 41st Avenue. And I know John Oliver Secondary is right there as well. And that field behind you there, that's where the concert was taking place. Can you describe Fraser Street for us? Because I've been hearing all week as well, whether you were there or not in the Filipino community or not, Fraser Street is such a community, a hub for people from all backgrounds. So can you tell us about that?
I think what struck me the most today, Michelle, is just how much foot traffic, how many people are coming through this area, whether they live in this area or from other areas of Vancouver. And you can't help but notice how big these memorials have grown and how important it is for people to be here to gather together to recognize that something awful has happened in our city and that healing needs to take place. And I think that's why there's so many people coming, is because they want to try and seek out some kind of healing and some kind of togetherness. A lot of tears here this morning, Michelle. I saw a lot of people who would come and look at the memorial and bow their heads and wipe away tears. Spoke to people who came to say, I needed to be here. I didn't know how I would feel or what I would feel. But in amongst fighting back tears, but just how sad they are about this tragedy. Speaking to people from the Filipino community saying that this festival was supposed to be a day of celebration and ended in tragedy, and they just can't understand how that could happen. But also very bolstered by other people from other communities across Vancouver coming here to be together. I see people talking together, expressing their emotions together, and just as I'm repeating myself, but being together at this site. And I'm impressed with how many people have come here and continue to come here as the day goes on.
And Pinki, if people would like to come down to Vancouver City Hall and sign the Book of Condolences, what should they know?
Yeah, so the City Hall is open from 9 to 5 p.m. and people can come and sign the Book of Condolences till May 15th. And a similar book is also placed at the BC Legislature in Victoria.
Pinki and Chad, thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you, Michelle.
CBC reporters Chad Pawson and Pinki Wong. It is 12:14 now. This is BC Today, and if you'd like to give us a call and share your thoughts on this Provincial Day of Mourning, you can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Now, Vancouver Kensington MLA Mabel Elmore has been a leading figure in BC's Filipino community, and having been the first person of Filipino heritage to be elected into legislature. She's also taken part in leading the community through their grief in the wake of Saturday's mass fatality. She helped organize the Lapu-Lapu festival and was there. This morning she spoke to the Early Edition's Stephen Quinn.
We were there and all the volunteers who worked to put on a great festival, and folks enjoyed it. And I'm really proud of them. They were there to support the victims. They worked with the first responders. I want to thank the first responders who were on scene. And the team of volunteers supported people, brought them into my office to provide support. That night we didn't sleep, and have been, and those folks have been continuing. They've taken time off work, and they've been working every day to support the community, ensure that resources are in place, and to provide that support. So the community has really come together, and we appreciate the outpouring of support across British Columbia.
And were any of your volunteers among the injured?
Yes, I have a couple volunteers that still remain in hospital, and we've been visiting them, and they're taking visitors. Some were injured and have been released. And we're also undertaking counseling. That's my message. Anybody who's been impacted, reach out. Don't be isolated. Ask for help. Help is there, and to support the victims and families, but also those who witnessed it. It's incredible trauma for those folks in the broader community. So I appreciate the support from all levels of government to really ensure that support's in place. This is a collective tragedy, but we will also come together collectively and heal together.
That is Vancouver Kensington MLA Mabel Elmore, and our best well wishes to those who are in hospital for a full recovery. Now, as she mentioned, that trauma is being experienced by so many, including perhaps students from across Vancouver as well. The events took place, as I mentioned, right next to John Oliver Secondary at 41st and Fraser, and down the street from Sir Alexander Mackenzie Elementary. Students across the district, though, have been affected, and supports have been brought in for students and staff. Helen McGregor is the Vancouver School Board superintendent and joins me now. Hello, good afternoon.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this very difficult week and very difficult day. Can you describe for me what the last week has been like for schools and the school communities?
Yes, and I wanted to start by saying our hearts go out to the families and loved ones of those who lost their lives, and to those who were injured, and to everyone who witnessed this very tragic event. There are really no words to express how truly terrible this act was, and the profound sadness, hurt, and loss that many in our community are feeling across the VSB, across Vancouver, and across broader communities in British Columbia and beyond. Today, on this day of provincial support for remembrance, we really join in standing together and sharing our condolences for those lost, for those injured, and everyone impacted. The week has been a difficult one, and we have kept the well-being of students, their families, and staff at the forefront of our minds in everything that we've been doing. Our staff have been working diligently to arrange supports for members of our school communities, and also communicating to those communities.
You know, something that really was impressed upon me when I was there earlier that evening at the festival was how many kids were there. You know, so many families just having a blast, and I think about whether they can even understand what's happened now. We know that the victims were as young as 5, and so I'm wondering what kinds of questions you are getting from students, or what those conversations have been like.
And it has been a lot of conversations with a lot of different people. And what I want to share with you is we all, as staff at VSB, are committed to ensuring students, their families, and also each other, staff, have that care and assistance that's needed. We've communicated to families multiple times this week to provide supports for them to support their students. And there'll be a further communication this afternoon. The needs vary. Our staff are trained, we have professionals, and we've been meeting with staff and students every day this week. Our team started on Saturday evening as well. And it can be many things. You asked about the conversations. Mm-hmm. It could be it could be quiet conversations, kind words, acts. So many people want to help. And also pointing people to specific resources and supports as individuals need them at different points in time. We know that there are direct and indirect impacts. There'll be impacts and supports needed now, but also into the future. And the other thing I wanted to say in all of this, not only the diligent work of so many staff, principals, vice principals, teachers, support staff who've been talking and listening to students and families all week, also the district staff and our crisis intervention team. But so many other people have been helping in these conversations. Our neighboring school district, Surrey and Richmond, gave us additional teacher counselors to be available for school communities. The Ministry of Education and Childcare and the Safer Schools Together team giving us guidance to share with families if they need advice on how to navigate this with their children. And of course, everybody in the Vancouver context acknowledging and sharing our deepest gratitude to those frontline workers, healthcare workers, emergency responders. Their care and dedication has really been invaluable to help our staff, and our staff help the students across Vancouver schools.
And what about specifically John Oliver Secondary that is at the center of this when it comes to that location and that site being right there? Is there anything being planned for this location in terms of a future memorial or specific supports for the community there?
Well, what I can say, and obviously, right in the media and all of what happened on that day, we have numerous schools that have had direct impacts. And what we're doing right now is those school teams and staff with lots of support are really focusing and leaning in to support their school communities, and that's going to continue. And that's additional supports, conversations with parents, conversations with students, done with so many supports of other agencies as well. And I think that's the important thing in all of this. I really just want to thank everyone for their support in working through this. And a key message I think is important for parents and guardians: if their child needs some support, please reach out to your schools, and we will make arrangements. And some of that is with our school staff, but it's also making connections to the community and the community supports that exist. So in this time when people aren't sure necessarily what to do, pointing people and sharing that information is very important for us.
Helen McGregor, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Helen McGregor is the superintendent for the Vancouver School Board. 12:22 now. This is BC Today. If you'd like to call us, you can let us know your thoughts on this Provincial Day of Mourning. Today has been declared a Provincial Day of Mourning as Canadians continue to mourn Saturday's tragic events that were at the Lapu-Lapu Day Festival in Vancouver. And since the weekend, vigils have taken place across the country. Helen Sabit is with Migrante Canada, and she joins us now from Toronto. Helen, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Michelle. It's Hannah from Migrante Canada. I'm based here in Toronto, and yeah.
My apologies, Hannah. Thank you so much. Magandang hapon, and thank you for being here with us. Why was it important for Migrante Canada, from Toronto, to be involved in supporting British Columbians and the Filipino community in BC?
Yeah, so the tragedy that happened in BC, right, was not only a tragedy that has affected our kababayans in BC. The tragedy happened at a day of celebration, a day to celebrate the rich history of Philippines, of Filipino resistance during Spanish colonization. It was a product of Filipino community leaders and members really ensuring that this event takes place for us to have the space to celebrate our culture and our history. So, and it was met with tragedy and sorrow, and it just affected a lot of people across the country.
What have you been hearing from people in Toronto?
Yeah, so in Toronto, we have organized, I think to this day, at least 3 prayer vigils across the GTA. There's more happening outside Toronto this week. There was the one we organized with Migrante Ontario and other Filipino community organizations on April 27th, was attended by at least 42 people. And the ones we did on April 29th was attended by some politicians and also by community members. More or less 300 people came, gathered, collectively grieved. We held each other. we called for justice for the victims, and we leaned on each other.
What has it been like to see so much support that has been pouring in, and as you say, from across the country? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been great to see quick responses from the community, but like mentioned, like Migrante Canada actually called for a Luksang Bayan or People's Mourning right after the day after it happened. On April 26th, actually, around 10:30 p.m., just hours after the tragedy had occurred, Bayan and Migrante BC already organized a mass prayer vigil at a church near where it happened at St. Mary South Hill. It was attended by a lot of our kababayans, both non-Filipinos and Filipinos, as the tragedy didn't only take the lives of Filipinos but other community members also in BC, right? And the day after that, Migrante Canada, in coordination with Bayan Canada, called all of our chapters and members across Canada to reach out to both Filipinos and non-Filipinos to come together and hold Luksang Bayan across the country. And it was very much well responded by our kababayans across the country.
And Hannah, do you hope this festival and other Filipino festivals do continue?
Of course. I think that there's more reason for us to really collectively, go through this, but at the same time reclaim the celebration, right? It was met with tragedy. It shouldn't have been. It does, no celebration or cultural celebration or festivals deserve for that tragedy to happen. That's why we continue to call on demanding justice and accountability for the victims who have died, for those who have been injured, even to those who have been there during the day but not at the actual tragedy, but have been significantly traumatized and affected. Even us who weren't there, we are miles and miles away from the East Coast. We are very much affected. So we continue to push for accountability, thorough and transparent investigation to this. And at the same time, we continue to ask both the Philippine government and the Canadian government to provide support, most especially to the immediate victims, but at the same time also extend it to others who may not have been physically injured but are forever going to be traumatized by this.
And yourself, Hannah, how are you taking care?
Well, I haven't had much sleep since I heard about the news. Actually, during that tragedy, some of our members were there. Our Migrante BC and allied organization like Anak Bayan were at the block party that day. They listened to the concert. They had a booth. They participated in the festival. Some of them actually witnessed the devastating aftermath of the tragedy, walking in that street, and to this day have significantly been affected. We are in close coordination with Migrante BC and checking in with our members there. And for now, I think we have been able to really leaned on each other and assessed the needs not only of our members but the members of the community. And Migrante International have also participated in the calls for Luksang Bayan or the People's Mourning. There is a Luksang Bayan or a prayer vigil happening in the Philippines. I believe this week there was also one in the U.S. in California. And other chapters across the globe, from the Middle East to Southeast Asia to Europe, have also extended solidarity and prayers to us here in Canada.
Hannah, maraming salamat, and I do hope that you take care of yourself and lean on those around you, and that you all care for each other too. Thank you so much for joining us. Hannah Sabit is with Migrante Canada. It is 12:30 now. You're with BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thanks so much for being with us. And time now for a CBC News Update with Rob Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. An air and ground search is ongoing, but there is still no sign of a 7-year-old girl missing in Chilliwack since yesterday afternoon. The RCMP say Lily Corsol was last seen around 4 o'clock along Winona Road after she apparently followed her neighbor's dogs into a wooded area and didn't return. Police are asking the public to avoid the area of Chilliwack Lake Road to allow emergency responders and investigative teams to operate without interference. As we've been hearing on the show, an official day of remembrance and mourning is underway in the province to honor the victims of the Lapu-Lapu Day tragedy. Premier David Eby released a statement offering his heartfelt condolences. The suspect is scheduled in court later this afternoon. And the BC Wildfire Service is bracing for high temperatures and windy conditions as crews tackle early season fires in northern BC. 2 out-of-control fires along Highway 52 north between Tumbler Ridge and Dawson Creek have merged into a fire covering about 185 hectares. Meanwhile, a wildfire on the northern outskirts of Fort St. John has forced about 24 people out of their homes. And now the forecast on the north coast. Rain tapering off this afternoon, then a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 11. Highs up to 27 and mainly sunny in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 20. Highs in the mid-20s with sunshine in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, sunny with a high of 28. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, increasing cloudiness this afternoon with highs up to 28 degrees. That's your CBC News Update from Vancouver.
Thank you, Rob. Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Now, this week, the provincial government announced it would end BC's rebates for buying or leasing new zero-emission vehicles, and that's by the end of this month. The province says it would determine its next steps. We got a lot of calls and these emails. Liam writes from Vancouver, electric cars don't solve the larger issues around vehicle use in our society. Our car-centered culture is inherently unsafe and unhealthy. We need to transition away from all personal vehicle use as a default way of interacting with our communities. Walkable, human-scaled cities are better in every way than even a 100% EV landscape. Scott writes from Burnaby, BC doesn't need to keep spending public money on electric vehicle rebates if we allow EVs from more countries, including China, tariff-free access. Let consumers benefit directly from global competition and lower prices at the dealership. Instead of protectionism, Canada can use access to our market as leverage to require that automakers open EV assembly and repair plants here. That creates jobs, builds domestic capacity, and brings long-term economic value without burdening taxpayers. We need to think bigger than rebates. And this perspective from outside the Lower Mainland. When you move to more rural areas like the Okanagan, and then only then does a person realize that oil, gas, petroleum products are not only about today's needs, but about the future as well. I drive a school bus here in the Summerland area, and the EV school buses are constantly breaking down daily in winter. So in closing, we are not there yet when it comes to what Canadians really need. Thank you for all of your emails. You can send us your thoughts, bctoday@cbc.ca. $12:34 now, and this is BC Today. Well, Brian Minter is here with his gardening advice, and as always, to take your gardening questions. Our numbers, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 as well, or you can email your question in to bctoday@cbc.ca. And Brian joins me now from Country Garden Limited in Chilliwack. Hello, Brian. Nice to see you.
Well, Michelle, it's wonderful to be here. It's been a few days, but one of the great things coming up next week is showing our appreciation for moms. Mother's Day is kind of a universal thing around the world, and she does so much for so many of us all year round. It's nice to show appreciation, and the floral and gardening industry really is a kind of the place where moms hang out, really, and just in terms of a thoughtful gift, whether she lives in an apartment, with a condo, or has a garden herself, anything that's floral or will give her beauty over the summertime is really, I think, so important. I mean, it takes away stress, it builds happiness, it does all those things that are really important, and a few other things will do that. But living things are great. Of there's hanging baskets and there's containers out there, and always remember, is it going to be a sunny deck or a shady deck? Those are things to keep in mind, but it's the added value of things today. What do you have in a container or a basket that's fragrant? What do you have in there that's going to attract hummingbirds? Like all the beautiful kufiyas added to baskets are amazing in terms of having them come all summer long, and there's nothing nicer than having a big bumblebee come and all the pollinators come in amongst your flowers. Those are the added value things that to me are really, really important. So think about those things. Also, mums are incredible cooks and chefs and so on. And, a herb garden, but not just something with a couple things in it. Go and pick out herbs that she absolutely loves to be able to use all summer long, and all her foods. And of course, the fragrance of herb gardens and, the rosemary and so on the deck is something really quite wonderful. And, in terms of edible things, there are so many great, there's Tumbling Tom, there's Tumbler tomatoes, yellow and red and so on, but you can get them in hanging baskets with fruit already on them that you'll be able to enjoy all summer long. And the big one, of course, are strawberry baskets. It's becoming a thing in the country right now, growing strawberries in containers and baskets, just to be able to have that extra wonderful thing to be able to enjoy in the patio. If she has a garden, something that flowers this time of year, the beautiful white dogwoods we see everywhere, and the pink dogwoods in bloom right now, getting her one of those every Mother's Day should be able to enjoy that. And again, buying seasons tickets or taking mom to some of the wonderful gardens we have in British Columbia is to me a great thing to be able to do all year round pretty much for some of the major gardens. And the other thing that's really nice is getting your gardening magazines. Moms love gardening magazines who love garden, and there's actually quite a good selection of various magazines out there, that ideas and thoughts, and just sort of even the home and garden magazines have great ideas to add value to the home and the patio as well. Those are wonderful things to be able to have. And again, if she has a location and wants to be able to garden more, a small greenhouse, thinking about that for the future is really, really good. But the idea, and of course, the floral industry does so much at this time of year for bouquets for mom to be able to enjoy. You have no idea how it just lifts her spirits and makes her days that much nicer. So anything floral, anything outdoor in the garden to attract, fragrance and hummingbirds to have on the patio to enjoy outside summertime. Those are the things I think are important. Oh, and one last thing too. Sometimes just a simple bird bath is nice. A bit of water. You'd be surprised who shows up there. Of all things, shallow water for bees and pollinators is nice, and birds. And of course, there's very small, compact fountains too. The sound of water. And maybe a noisy type of deck is a wonderful way to just sort of soothe, things a wee bit. And there's so many great ideas related to gardens and gardening and all of the wildlife we have. To me, those are the things that Mom would really appreciate.
Yes, just imagine the smile on her face.
There you go.
Yes, let's take some calls now, Brian. Again, if you have a question for Brian Mincher, give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Linda is calling from Trail with a gardening question, and this is about her lawn. Hi, Linda.
Hi there. Hi, Brian.
Hi.
I'm in need of some desperate advice. We bought a property a year ago, so we've been doing the lawn, and I had some lawn care come and do weed control for me. We have a particularly aggressive, it looks like buttercup type of a weed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a fairly large area, so they actually sprayed it, and I just found out, about 2 weeks ago from an old neighbor that the previous owners, an old couple, didn't actually plant lawn. They just mowed the field and watered it. So what's happened is the buttercups are still alive and well, but my grass is dead. So what can I do? Because, of course, my lawn care is wondering what they should do. Should I go ahead and try and kill the buttercup weed out and then just reseed that area? And secondary, I have been keeping the clippings for my garden to put in the fall to just aerate the dirt. But I'm finding that grass is coming up, which is the weed seed. Yeah. Should I stop doing that?
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah, really good questions here. You how big is the lawn, first of all? How big? How many square feet about?
We're on half an acre.
Okay, that's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
But I'm mostly concerned about the front, which is not that big.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You have a couple of options, and the proper option is, even doing it a little bit at a time, is to rotivate the entire lawn area. Now, we're getting to the time right now, it's a good time to begin seeding, but rotivate the entire lawn area that you wanted to have look good, and do it soon. And again, once you do that, you're able to begin the process of starting a new lawn. Lawns are different today, and Linda, this is really important to keep in mind. The perfect lawn is something of the past, honestly. To make our lawn valuable for pollinators and so on, putting some microclovers, or I would say in trail white Dutch clover, in with your lawn seed would really make it. It's what people are doing right now to make the lawn a valuable resource for so many different situations. Or there's blends of lawn seed that'll tolerate the heat better, because that's becoming an issue with water. Tall fescues, for example, will make a huge difference there to be able to get a lawn that you don't have to water as much. And especially in trail where water is going to be an issue for the summertime, like the rest of us in BC. So you've got some choices, but to me, the proper way to do that is to rotivate the area that you want to have look good, to get the type of seed that you want to be able to have. And there's so many different blends today. There's blends that attract all the pollinators, and there's so many different blends. So you've got some decisions to make, but that's honestly what I would do. Trying to spot kill various types of weed control, those weeds are going to keep coming up. Yeah. But if you get it rotivated and let it see what's germinating and rotivate it again, so you can get the weeds cleaned up by hand, then you've got a perfect new palette to be able to start and do one of the many opportunities you have to look at lawn seed today. But patching it up and overseeding, that's only a partial way to be able to do this, Linda. So bite the bullet when you have a chance to do the sizes that you want to do, and I think a complete do-over on that lawn is really important.
Yeah, half an acre's worth there.
Yeah, but we're only going to do the front, though.
Yes,
and
just
that's what
front.
she was talking about, for
that's
sure.
Right, yeah. Linda, thank you very much. Phew, I think Brian went a little bit of panic there. Half an acre, oh my God.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Linda and Terrell. Good luck. Anthony is next now in Harrison Hot Springs. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, good afternoon. Ironically, I was just leaving Harrison Hot Springs and about to go, and the radio was on. I was actually heading to Minter Gardens to talk to Mr. Minter, so this works out well.
We'd love to
save you a trip, yeah.
But I'm still probably going to come in because I remembered. Thanks for the reminder about Mother's Day. So definitely important to stop by and pick something up for my mother-in-law for sure. But my question is, you've helped me out. I put in about 70 feet of British laurels that I got from you about 4 years ago, and have struggled with them because of the unusual winters, and we had to die off. And I talked to you before. You said to prune back. I lost probably about 20%, and you said to prune back aggressively, and I did. My neighbors did not, and theirs never came back. So that's a testament to that fact. So they grew in nice, but I still have a section that's probably takes up about 5 or 6 plants, and they just they're they look like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree compared to the rest. The rest of it's all like 6 feet tall and very lush and has widened out and lots of sprouts. And then I've got these, just in that one section, about 4 or 5 plants that are just, like I said, they're not filling out. Even the new sprouts aren't happening like they are as much on the other ones. And just wondering, is there some way to enrich the soil? I'm thinking it's a soil issue possibly, or what would you recommend?
Anthony, a good point, Anthony. What I would recommend is it's after the past winters we've had 2 years ago, I'm a little more cautious about doing this, but I would still take some English laurels where these are missing gaps, and I would put English laurels in that area. They can get them 4 or 5 feet high already, so make a good planting hole in amongst the other ones. It's going to be hard to do to fit them in there, but because they grow so quick, to 4 or 5 new ones in the area, I wouldn't take the old ones out. I think giving them some timed release fertilizer, like a 14-14-14 slow release, will help push them along. If they're still alive, they're just, and also you mentioned the soil, probably getting something like sea soil with kelp and fish meal in there would enrich the soil and make a huge difference. So fertilizing with 14-14-14, putting in some new laurels, just 4 or 5 of them in amongst that area, get them established. In between those two things, we'll get it back. The only thing, Anthony, then all of us have to watch for, there are hardier laurels. The Ravani or Russian laurel is a zone hardier. It's Okanagan hardy. In the future, all of us need to be looking at that. But the other thing is when we do get, we get good warning from CBC and all those situations of bad weather coming in the winter, there's a wrap called Insulate we talk about all the time. All you have to do is on the north side, just put a quick wrap of Insulate around. It's not expensive, and that will protect them enough that you will not have that problem again. So Anthony, planting a few new ones, fertilizing, putting sea soil in, I think it'll do everything you possibly could to get that green back, that nice green that you will be able to enjoy.
Fantastic. And you have that all available at the nursery?
Yep. If we're going to see it, I'd love to see you and show you and give you a few more ideas.
So are you continuing your trip, or are you turning around, Anthony?
No, I'm heading in. I'm just sitting in the driveway. I was about to pull out when I heard the Mr. Minter come on, and then went, okay, well.
Now you know exactly what to look for.
But then I also want to get some Mother's Day stuff.
There you go. And, yeah, don't want to forget that. Your mother-in-law's waiting.
All right.
Anthony, thank you for the
call. Thank you so much, Mr. Minter.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call en route to Country Garden Limited. We have an email from Liz in Burton in the West Kootenay. We purchased an Anjou pear tree a few years ago. It has never flowered, sadly. Any ideas on what we could do to help this tree grow and support its health? There are no symptoms of injury or disease that we can see.
There's 3 things. Number 1 is take the center out of the tree and start radiating the branches out in what we call an open vase form. So sideward or horizontal growing branches are very easy to begin forming flowers and subsequent buds. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Anjou is a beautiful pear. It's a late summer pear, but the thing is you need to have a pollinator. Either if you don't have another variety, a later flowering pear would be the one to be able to, when the flowers do come, make sure that you have gotten the flowers of another variety blooming at the same time where the pollination will help. That's probably the big one. So it's training and pruning, and also 2 things to shock your pear into blooming is number one, give it a fertilizer, something like low in nitrogen, 10, 15, 19, a flower and veg food around the drip line of the tree will help a lot. And in the summertime, when we get really our traditional hot summer weather, what I'd love you to do is put a little bit of stress around the tree. Don't water it as frequently. Let it get a little bit dry. And what that does is shocks the tree into thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I better reproduce, flowers. And that's when it begins to flower. So a little bit of shocking, a little bit of 10, 15, 19, training the branches to go sideways, and making sure you have another tree to pollinate. All those things will get you pears for hopefully next year.
Aha. Liz, good luck to you. Thank you very much for that, Brian. Again, our email is bctoday@cbc.ca. Deborah is calling us from Vancouver with a question now. Hi, Deborah.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm following up on the earlier question about lawns and creeping buttercup.
Yep.
And so I'm situated in a housing co-op right near Granville Island, and we have quite a large grass area, and about half of the grass now, I don't know the yardage, is full of creeping buttercup. We also have an underground sprinkler system, and in the summer, when we have to turn off the water, that area goes to bare soil. And so we have microclover, and we've got tall fescue, and we've tried over time to really encourage pollinators, but we can't really compete with the creeping buttercup. So I've done a lot of research, and I know that its roots can go like a foot down, and it's really hard.
Wow.
And I was thinking I've been researching doing the area in sections, and I can't really find I'm wondering, does it work to put a biodegradable cloth down and put new soil that's for grass and reseed? And do you know where a biodegradable cloth could be located? And is that a good way of doing it? We can't really take the whole lawn away given all the kids that play on it.
Yeah, and I hear you and understand. There was always in the past, and as so many different products, as we look at the toxicity and potential damage to the environment, the chickweed and clover and all these other, control for weeds have been taken off the market. That's really what's happened. So we don't have them anymore. There's one thing I would try, and it does kind of damage the soil a short time. If you take a piece of cardboard and cut a hole in the center, maybe about 3 or 4 inches across. And the folks who Scott's Canada now control Roundup, and they also have they actually named it Roundup, but it's vinegar. It's a 15% vinegar formula, and this vinegar formula is actually quite effective in terms of controlling so many of these weeds that have been creeping buttercup in particular. So, but you can't, because it's non-selective, you have to, whatever you hit. So just go with this vinegar, and it's acetic acid is really what it is. Read that in the bottle, and try that on the creeping buttercup killer. And and this is really important, Liz. Do a small area first. Maybe a 10 by 10 or whatever you like, and just really focus on getting this area done. And if you can get control, once you do, there's also you can dig down with very narrow trowels today and lift out those roots. That's possible, but I think you're going to need a little bit of help from the vinegar to be able to get these particular creeping buttercups under control. I think that's very, very important, and that's what I would try. And then, of course, overseeding, would be the way to go to be able to do that. And probably tall fescue and a mixture of white Dutch clover would be the best way to be able to get that filled in very quickly.
Okay. But so I was going to just mow it really close to the ground and then put cloth over top of it. I don't think there's ground cloth. There's many different ones, but nothing biodegradable that's going to, and I understand your process here, but I think that's going to be a tough one. Yeah. I think if you can, do a small area first and work, really diligently to try and get the control, Liz, I think that's going to be the best way to go for the longer term. I really do.
Sounds like a fairly common issue. Deborah, thank you very much for the call. Shauna is next now in Burnaby with a question about an evergreen magnolia tree. Hi, Shauna.
Hi, thanks so much for taking my call. Brian, I have an evergreen magnolia tree that was planted almost 4 years ago, and it's never flowered. The leaves are incredibly healthy. And unfortunately, this year, the wind took the top half of it, but it's still a very healthy tree.
Good.
But has not flowered at all.
Okay.
Just wondering if you've got any thoughts.
First of all, do you remember the name of the variety? There's quite a few different varieties. Oh,
I know,
okay.
and I'm sorry I don't because it's at our cottage, but it's white.
Okay, yeah, they're all white.
Yeah, that narrows it down.
But, number one is patience. Of course, they take a few years. They need to be of good girth and get really. It's 4 years. I understand that, but they take a little bit time before they're ready to bloom. We always talk about with the pear trees, for example, putting a 10, 15, 19. That's going to encourage it. But quite frankly, the Magnolia grandiflora, it just needs time. And of course, they bloom late. It's August. They go going into September when the buds will actually appear.
Oh.
And so that's something to keep in mind. So if you want to use 10, 15, 19 around the drip line of the tree, and as with the pear tree, if you want to stress the tree out in the summertime when it's really hot, let it dry a little bit more than you normally would before watering, and they'll come along. But we have so many that I watch and look at and admire, but they all bloom late August going to September. And as a tree gets bigger, I guarantee it's going to do it for you.
Oh, there you go, Shauna.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Shauna.
Let's take in Susan in Nanaimo now. Hi, Susan. Go ahead. Thanks so much for calling in.
Oh, hi. Thanks. Brian, we have a good small lawn that was just redone last spring, and it looks great. Now, my husband just put 23-3-23 fertilizer on it, and I was looking at your website, and it said to use something like Scott's Turf Builder that everybody uses, the nitrogen. So did we put the wrong fertilizer on? And can we put something? Oh, okay.
The one thing I learned being very young going to growers, there's more than one right answer. And everybody has their own suggestion, and everybody has different ideas, and they all seem to work in different ways. So no, we had basically 17 acres of lawn at our gardens for 40 years. Wow. So we learned an awful lot about looking after lawns. So you want a high nitrogen but slow release. And the Environmental Protection Agency for so many years in the United States said that timed release nitrogen prevents the nitrates from getting in deep in the soil. So that's why we like that. It's more environmentally friendly. But the higher nitrogen and slower release is going to be beneficial for the lawn, but also for the environment as well. And that's why we'd recommend that. That's a very good question. But if you're having success with what you're doing, great. But the timed release is the most important thing.
So the one that we put on now, like we shouldn't go put some time to release nitrogen on, just leave what we've done now?
Yep. And usually you would normally do it twice on a lawn to keep the vigor and keep it going, but in the summertime. So after, I would say we're into just beginning into May right now, end of June, early July, perhaps then take a look at it then. But just ask your husband when he's picking up fertilizer, if he can please get the timed release variety, high nitrogen, but timed release would be much better for the lawn, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. But at least he didn't get it too far off the mark there. That was the first time. That was not bad. Susan, thanks for the call. Brian, always such a pleasure and a treat. Thanks for your time. Have a good weekend.
Well, I'd like to, next week for you, I'd like to wish you happy Mother's Day, and all our wonderful listeners who are mothers, happy Mother's Day in the week coming up.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks, okay?
Bye.
Brian Minter, our gardening columnist here on the show. He joined us from Country Garden Limited all the way in Chilliwack, and he'll join us again 2 weeks from now.